name is Scott Fain, and this is the Youngstown Lifestyle Podcast, where I take the time to learn more about the people and opportunities in the Youngstown, Ohio community. My guest today is Youngstown native Shaye Cahill, a small business owner and fellow dog lover. Shaye came onto my radar through my partner Matthew Woods and his involvement in training her dog Chauncey. She's a very kind person with a big heart and a great example of the quality of folks you meet in Youngstown. So without further delay, let's start the show.
This is Scott Fain with the Youngstown Lifestyle Podcast, and my guest today is Shaye Cahill, a Youngstown resident, small business owner, and dog lover. How are you doing today, Shaye? Excuse me.
I am well. Thanks so much for having me on your podcast.
I appreciate you coming on. Just as a little background for people listening, the reason that we're having this call, or the reason I even know you at all, is through my partner Matt Woods, and he's been doing some training of your dog. And he had some.
And what a Renaissance man he is! One of the many.
Yes.
His hat
yes, he
wears, dog training.
Well, before we get started, he asked me to read you something that he wrote yesterday. It's a short little letter just about your opening experiences, and then we can get started after that, if you don't mind.
Wonderful.
Okay. It is entitled, My First Official Client. I met Shaye last year while out on a run with Jax. We were at Wick Park, located in Youngstown, Ohio, at the pull-up station at the intersection of Park Avenue and Elm Street. Wick Park is a nice park where you'll find people out and about when the weather is good, taking walks with their kids, family, friends, or pets. As Shaye walked in my direction, her dog Chauncey began to start pulling towards Jax and barking. Being out so much, Jax and I will always encounter situations where other dogs are barking at us, but in this case, I was a little concerned because Chauncey, or Sir Chauncey as I sometimes call him, is a big dog, and Shaye is such a little lady by comparison. The first thought that came to my mind, I hope she got him. Shaye did have him. She tied him up to a spot away from us and approached me and Jax, introducing herself, and asked if I'd be interested in being compensated to train Chauncey. To make a long story short, initially I was hesitant to offer formal services because up to that point I'd worked with dogs for fun and as a getaway from human negativity. But then I remembered how I'd been meditating on making more money doing things that I love to do and wouldn't mind doing for free. And with reflection on that logic, Shaye became my first formal client. And what a great client she has been. Not only is Shaye always on schedule, she always stays engaged in the process. She's always willing to do the homework, and she always pays on time. In addition to all those great things, what I appreciate most is Shaye's trust and belief in me. I point this out because my training style is not 100% traditional. The biggest difference is that I don't use treats during my training session, which is the opposite of what most information that you'll find online and in books. Typically, people fear or avoid the untraditional and unfamiliar things, but Shaye has embraced the training 100%, and by us working together with Sir Chauncey, we have made tremendous progress. So I just want to say thank you from the top and bottom of my heart. P.S. Shaye, you have to ask Scott about me teaching his dog to lunge. Signed, Matthew Woods. And that's
To lunge?
Yeah, it's when he came to visit. We have a lab beagle mix named Noah, and he's really a sweet dog. And so sweet, like he doesn't even bark, just in general, unless somebody knocks at the door, which personally is my favorite thing about him, that he's not a loud yapping dog all the time. Mm-hmm. So anyway, because he's so gentle, when Matt got here, he was taking it upon himself and said, I'm going to teach him how to lunge to kind of, like, if you need to, somebody comes and approaches you, so he would just be playing with Noah, and he would like, go lunge. And it's like, that was the whole thing, that whole trip, you was here for like a week. I don't actually think Noah lunged at all, but it was fun watching him try. Yeah, but that's the lunge story. I'm sure he tells it better than I do. But what type of dog is Chauncey?
I have no idea. I met him at Wick Park, actually, the same place where I approached Matthew about dog training. At the time, I had already had a dog, my first dog as an adult, Josie, who recently passed. Actually, it's been a year. In June, and I have 3 cats as well. So I was very apprehensive about taking on another dog. And like Matthew said, he's humongous, but I didn't realize that at first. When I went to Wick Park that day that I met him, I had every intention of just cutting loose for a second because I had a very long day at work that day and had a short break, and I just wanted to go to my regular place there and exercise. And I found a dog sitting about 10 feet away from me, and I thought he was very small or medium-sized. He was curled up in a little ball. I'll see if Matthew can put the picture up. I'll send of. He was emaciated. Once he finally stood up, I realized just how skinny he was, and I'd thought perhaps he had a broken leg because he was limping. And so, of course, I called my husband and brings us food. Anyway, long story short, after trying to place him a bunch of places, I ended up keeping him. And very much similarly to my girl dog Josie I mentioned, he is very reactive, especially to other animals. And just like Matthew described, he tends to be on his back feet even. He'll lunge at other dogs or make terrible barking noises. And because I want him to be such a large part of my life and to bring him a lot of places with me, that's behavior that I can't tolerate. So I had to come up with a plan of what to do. So I'm with a friend of mine, dropping her off at a house at a different park around Crandall Park. It was this winter, and I saw it was like a superhero. It's snow. There's a large amount of snow on the ground. This bicycle comes around the corner with this beautiful white dog just right at his side, and they're just plowing through Crandall Park. And of course, Chauncey got a good look at him and lost his mind, barking like a maniac. I think that he was so excited to see them, as was I. And I thought, who is that person? And then it wasn't until later at Wick Park that I saw them again, and that was the day. Actually, I think it was twice. I think once I saw him, Chauncey made a big deal, and I just pulled him along. And then the second time, I had the courage to stop and ask if he would be willing to try. I've tried many training methods and agencies with him. The last one I had just finished before approaching Matthew was a positive-only training, which was interesting, but it didn't seem to do any real work with him. Maybe I think a lot of times people, dog trainers, assume that you're not spending the time with the dog, and maybe anyway. But that's not the case with Sir Chauncey. He does tend to be the center of my husband and I's life here, which I believe if you're going to have a dog, it's important that you give it what it needs. And when he's as big and as scary looking as he is, he really does need to be very compliant. Or he could really scare someone, or even if he jumped on someone, he could really hurt, an older person or a child. So the training that Matthew has given him has been priceless. He gets the exercise with him, of course, which just helps so he's not agitated and wanting to go out. And my husband and I still also take him out almost every day. And then on top of that, just like Matthew always says, consistency. Every day when he gets back home, he's super excited to see me. But every day Matthew has him walk at his leg until he gets to me. And every day it gets a little bit better. He knows and you can see he's still excited, but he has the part in his head that understands what he has to do. And I think he's excited to do good too. So we're still working on him, but he's come a long way, and I'm very hopeful that he'll have a full life with a lot of friends of every species. So we can enjoy our life together.
That actually stand up my question for you. You gave me every answer I wanted. I was curious as to what, impressed you about originally enough to reach out. And you said, but what's the next benchmark for progress that you're looking for with Chauncey? Like, how will you know?
I'm shooting for the stars with him. I mean, I'm asking probably more than I'll ever get, but just like with Josie, I just always kept trying. She's what got me into dog training. I had dogs growing up, but we'd never trained or anything. I remember when I was little, we had a dog named Ricky Tar, and he ran away, and I twisted my ankle trying to catch him, and I was a long way from the house, and I hobbled back in, and I was crying, and my mom said, "Don't worry, honey, Ricky Tar will come home." And I said, "I don't care if that dog ever comes home. I hate him." And that's how you feel when your dog wouldn't listen to you, And I still hold that too. So I expect him to always comply. If there is a deer and it runs right in front of his face and I tell him to wait, I expect him to wait. Now, I don't know if that'll ever happen, but I do know at this point a person could run by and he would wait if I told him to wait. Yeah,
well, that's good.
we'll see
that's
about
good.
the critters. No, as long as there isn't, like I said, an animal running that he wants to chase, he's very, very good compliant dog. He knows all the basics and he wants to please, unless he's chasing something, in which case he forgets I exist.
That's one of my no-goes when it comes to dogs. Actually, my no-go is when it comes to food. My cousin, actually, she had this big lab, and I'm talking about gigantic. And he was a member of the family and everything like that, but they didn't have that kind of level of discipline with him. So that when they're eating dinner, the dog is like sitting right there, staring at the table, and they just let it go. And they had to, I think he said something where one of them went away, left their plate, the dog went over there and ate it. I wouldn't have a dog very long if he goes over there and starts eating off my plate. That's just that is a red line for me.
Well, you have to
so
have
I can appreciate
those
that.
lines. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what I grew up with. My mom always had labs growing up. And I think a lot of times with dogs like that, such a gentle breed, you really can get away with not training. They pretty much will listen just naturally through their dispositions. Somehow or other, I have always ended up with crazy dogs where there really wasn't an option. Like with my Josie, I got her, she was a birthday present, when I was 30. And she's a pit bull German shepherd mixed together. So as a puppy, she's wonderful, just the sweetest little angel. And then one day she hit puberty and she lost her mind. She wanted to attack everything that moved. And I was so fortunate that my friend happened to live next door to a wonderful dog trainer, a man named Stan Jacobs. He does bird dog training along with a million other things. But he came outside with a choke chain and he handed it to me when my dog was just going crazy over everything. And he's just like, this is called a choke chain. You're going to have to learn how to use it. Here's a book. It was called How to Be Your Dog's Best Friend by the Monks of New Skeet, which are monks in New Jersey that have been training German Shepherd dogs for 50-some years. And that's where I started really realizing that it's possible to have a dog be a companion and to have it listen and the steps that you have to take in order to do that. And started working with her. I made all my mistakes with her. I think I'm a little bit more competent at it now with Chauncey. But it's a fascinating subject to me. I find it to be, I think like anything, if you get into any subject far enough, you'll see how it applies, to a grander scheme. And like my demanding Chauncey to, deny his basic instincts for what I think would be a better life for him reminds me that, I have my own squirrels that I chase, silly things that are distracting me from my purpose. And if I expect him to control himself, then certainly I need to get more control of myself. So it can be a wonderfully rewarding process. And it's great to have a friend that's, oh yes. I mean, financially and emotionally, most of all, I absolutely adore him. And the only horrible part about loving a dog so much is knowing it's such a short period of time that they are animated in this world with you. So you really it really helps you also to live every day because that's always in your mind. But
that's what I heard it recently. I can't remember who it is. That's what I'm trying to think of now. Well, it doesn't matter. Ultimately, everything is temporary. It's as much as we like all the stuff that we do and, love and everything. And so having that kind of attitude about, what you're doing, you're spending time with him. he's going to last, be here as long as he's here, and just enjoy him for every day that you can. It's the same for any of us, you know. That tomorrow's not promised to any of us, and that as much as we can try to enjoy the day, I think we should enjoy the moment. Changing gears just a little bit, how long have you been in the Youngstown community?
Well, I moved back here about 20 years ago. I had been here until I was 9 years old. My mom moved away for work. And then, but I've been back. I've been in the same house this whole time. This is the longest I've ever lived in any house. It's wonderful on the north side of Youngstown. It was my friend, my next door neighbor bought it actually, but he paid $7,000 for it. And it is an unbelievable house. It has oak wood floors and inlaid bookcases, all these wonderful things. So I've been fixing up the house for the last 20 years and taking in strays, feline, canine, and human. And I find this area to be, I mean, not just home, you know, where I would come back for, you know, vacations or whatever, but it's such an interesting and, I mean, it has everything. We have the largest collection of American art, as I say, in the universe. I mean, in the world, so probably in the universe.
Well, yeah, it would have to be in the universe.
Yes, we have this, well, you would think. And we have the second largest park. Only Central Park is larger than Mill Creek. We have no traffic, which is one of my favorite things. I lived in big cities when I was gone, and I never really enjoyed the pace of those places. So, and the biggest thing for me, of course, is the cost of living here being so low that I can spend time with my dog.
You know, I live near D.C., so don't talk to me about traffic.
Oh,
every time I've come down, it's been a treat. It's been a treat just getting from one side of town to the other.
For a couple of years. Yeah, Ashland, Virginia. It's a little north of Richmond. So yeah, I'm familiar with the D.C. area. And that was, yes, one of the places that I lived that was extraordinarily expensive.
Yes, that doesn't help. So you're also a small business owner. I wanted to, before we go too far, tell me a little bit about your videography business. And starting off with the name, what's the name of the company?
The name of the company is Shaye Cahill Productions, because Shaye Cahill, it's not a homonym, I forget now, a polytheme, that's what it is, a phrase that sounds like another phrase. So, Shaye Cahill Productions, I do video production. Mainly it's event staging, which means I just carry heavy stuff, and I set up projectors, audio, and things at events around the area. And then I also occasionally actually make a video, but most of the time the videos that I make, I just make them for fun for my family and friends.
And how did you get into that?
My mom. My mom was a news photographer. She started out as when I was just a babe. She would take me along with her and her news shoots. It was very smart. She was like the first kid on a leash, because I would hold the microphone, and of course the microphone cable was attached to her camera, and she would be walking around. So I'd be, and that was my job. So you'd hear the audio would be a lot of people going, "Aw," and me going, "Shh," because I knew that it was important to get good nat sound. So my whole life, she took me to work with her. When we moved to Florida when I was 9, that's where she ended up working many, many jobs until she ended up landing a job at the Hard Rock Cafe. She was their entire video department, and they sent her all around the world documenting different cafes and doing things, and she brought me along on her European leg. It was fantastic. And then I had moved a couple of times. She had moved a couple of times, and that's when she fell in love. Well, then again, with the man she had been on the volunteer fire department with when I was little in Canfield. They fell in love again, moved back home, had a baby, started a business. I came home shortly after, and basically my business is just an extension of hers. About 5 years ago, she decided that she doesn't do video anymore. She quilts now, and she and my aunt started a little quilt company. A shout out to Village Quilts in Canfield, Ohio. If there's any quilters listening, please go there for your supplies. It's super cute. My sister and my cousins work there. And so basically she gave me all the clients and the gear and everything I would possibly need. What I like to say is that she thrust me from the nest at the tender age of 40. But basically, she made me an adjoining nest and just kind of plopped me right over into it. So that's where I sit now. I have my little videography company, and I'm very lucky, very blessed.
Well, I'll make sure to include any contact information for you as well when we post the podcast. So if someone wants to talk to you about doing something for their events or what have you, so you can be easy to reach.
Wonderful. I appreciate that.
Oh, no problem. Do you have any projects you're excited to be working on right now that you can talk about?
You know, dog training is pretty much my project at hand right now. I'm just spending time enjoying that. And of course, right now it's just taxes too. Oh geez. I just finished all those. So no, there's really, could we cut that part out?
Sure.
I guess the answer is I have nothing going on. But that's exactly how I like it.
Well, that's the answer then. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, as a new project comes together, you know, you'd be excited about that one.
Yeah.
Well, I only have one more question for you. More of a random question, how I like to cap it off. What is your favorite comfort meal to make? Your favorite comfort
food to make. Well, that's a good one. And it is grilled cheese and tomato soup. It's got to be Campbell's tomato soup, and it's got to have milk in it. That's it.
You know what? I haven't had that in years, but that is a good.
Oh, you dip it? You got to dip it. And you eat your grilled cheese like that. It's best if you're watching a show or something while you eat it too.
I've just my wife doesn't like tomatoes, and so for years, it's just one of those things where you get used to just buying what the people in your house are going to enjoy.
Of course.
And so occasionally, I will get a can of tomato soup, and it'll sit there until I think it's like, oh, I got the tomato soup up there. But yeah, that's a good answer. That's a good answer. You made me want one today. Well, anyway, I do appreciate you spending some time with me today and all the great information you shared. And like I said, I'll put your contact information out there so that if someone does want to book you for doing a video or doing some type of work for their events, they'll be able to get Shaye Cahill on the case.
Well, wonderful. I appreciate that, and thank you so much for spreading good news about my community.
Oh, no problem. It's a great community to do it to. Because I've been down there, and I love Youngstown. It's really a cool little city. A lot of opportunity and a lot of good people. That's the biggest thing. Just so many really nice people.
Yes.
Thanks again for listening to the Youngstown Lifestyle Podcast. For more information on connecting with today's guest, please check out the contact information currently on screen. And when you reach out, be sure to let them know who sent you. To listen to more episodes of the Youngstown Lifestyle Podcast, visit our website at teamwoods247.com. And to follow me, Scott Fain, on social media, visit @ScottFain on Instagram, @RealScottFain on Twitter. And for original handmade paper-cut illustration art pieces and t-shirts, visit my site at blasesplee.com. Thanks again for listening to the Youngstown Lifestyle Podcast, and have a great day.